Hi, this is Tony Edward, and I just wanted to briefly talk to you about capodestros and how they're helpful for a young child's guitar lessons. So I've got two here, and they're both made by Planet Waves. Okay, so there's this one here that's used for it's got a big trigger thing on it, and it's used for guitars with rounded fretboard, and so they have a capo that does this. The other one I've got here is a little classical one, and this is the one that I'd recommend for your children. And all it simply does is fits over the fret wire here. You just line it up next to the fret wire, and there's just this little screw that's really easy to fix, right? Now you'll notice that as I put this thing on, I can adjust the tension by this little screw at the back here. Thread. Okay. And what this capo essentially does is shortens the length of the guitar neck, right? So when we take this off, the guitar string is as long as it goes from here, the saddled part here, all the way to this thing called the nut, right? That's the length. As parents, I just want you to think about this for a second. Could you do me a favour and just take your arm and hold it out just like that, and hold it there while I'm talking. Okay, so if you've got your arm there, all you're simply doing is just taking your arm out and extending it and holding it while I talk to you. Okay, so you keep your arm there, right? So now when you got your arm out like that, the work that your arm is doing now is the kind of work that your child does when they have to play up here in what's called the open position. Okay, so their arm is out as far as it can go, and all the energy is spent in holding their arm. Okay, you still got your arm up there, don't let it go yet. Okay, hold it up there, because I want you to feel this, right? And so when the child's arm is extended right out there, that's enough work to do, right? So how are you feeling things yet in your arm? Is it okay? Okay. For the child, when they're holding the arm out there, that's one lot of work. Then you've got to be able to, while the arm is holding itself up there, do all these fine adjustments, right? Then on top of that, these fingers, your child's fingers, have got to be able to press towards themselves while everything else is holding up this arm, so these little digits on the end, things called fingers, can do their moves, right? And then those things are so tense that they're really pushing hard, and as they're pushing hard and holding their arm up, there's a lot going on, right? You feeling things in your arms yet? Okay, just bear with me a bit longer, just hold it up here a bit longer. 99% guitar teachers fail to take this into account. And so they ask their kids to do all this stuff way up here where it's heavy duty work, right? But the key point is asking a child to play their guitar in open position right at the start is like asking them to lift really, really heavy weights. So there's nothing wrong with doing that as long as they've done the training beforehand. And that's where this mighty capo comes in. Okay, so just now you've got your arms out there, can you just let them come in kind of like halfway? So you have them out like this, and you just got your arms in about here now. Feel the difference? Right, and if you start moving your fingers, you've actually got some extra energy where you can actually control these things, right? So, how I use this is the first book, your child is playing one note at a time, okay, on the guitar, and that's what we go through, a whole lot of tunes with that. And then we go in to do a, right, and then we're playing two notes at a time, so there's book two. Then we come in and we're going to be playing three notes. Okay, so once we get past three strings, or we're starting to use chords and we're using more than two fingers at a time, then we're getting to more complex things for the hand to do, right? So what we do, so there's that part, that's the hand is having to do all that work. The second part of this thing, this story, is in the guitar itself. what's happening is that the frets down this end of the guitar, these are wider apart than the frets up this end. So you can see on the guitar, these frets here, they're spaced closely together, whereas the ones down here are spaced wide apart, right? So as well as your child having to hold their hand up, and if they're doing chords like they're asked to do at primary schools and other places, they're not only having to hold their arm up, but they're having to stretch their fingers right across those wide frets to try and get a sound. Okay, and it's huge. It's a huge amount of work. So the teachers want their children to play, and that's commendable, but they're actually putting them through far more work than is necessary with that. But what I do instead is I don't ask them to do all that work. Start with putting their capo on fret 7, right? So now their guitar is not this long thing way out here, but it's only here, so they're having to hold their arms in here, and they can do stuff with their fingers. So now they can finger chords, right? Because these frets are closer together, right? So typically, primary school teachers and social teachers, they'll ask the kids to play, you know, all the chords down here, and grab their Fs and their Gs and their Gs and their Gs and all kinds of chords, right? Teachers tend to think, well, they forget how much work it was actually for them to learn it. They only remember how many years they've been playing. They never remember how long it takes to learn the stuff. By putting this capo on, now your child doesn't have to hold their arm way out, right? They can hold it uncomfortably. Now your child doesn't have to stretch right out plus hold their arm. Their fingers can comfortably reach the notes. So guess what? Less tension in the arm plus less stretching results in. It results in easier playing and more fun, right? They don't have to struggle to play. We're playing within their muscular comfort and teaching their body and their nervous system all the shapes and everything they need to know without any stress. Okay, so they play in the 7th fret and play all their stuff there, and then when they're comfortable with that, then we move it down 1 fret. Right, and when they're comfortable with that, then we move it down another fret, and generally this could be any kind of time. Generally I tend to think of months with this kind of stuff. Right, now they're moving down the shapes, and their ears sound different, and their fingers are slightly more apart. Right, one of the biggest things children have difficulty with is keeping their fingers right by the fret wire, because that's where the sound is, right? So that by using the capo and shortening the neck and bringing the frets closer, they can develop the habit of playing right by the fret wire, and that's what gives them a good sound, right? When they're not playing by the fret wire, they're not going to get a good sound. And teaching them, it's not so much that they can't do it, it's just that it's not comfortable for them to do it, and so they just let it go, right? But when it's easy for them to make the adjustments and make the checks, they're generally very thorough, right? And their sound benefits. Then when they've got that far, then we're into, you know, down to the 4th fret, and they're still playing clean, right? And then sometime later they'll go down to the 3rd fret. Then sometime later they'll go down to the 2nd fret. And each time they're making just minor adjustments. So they're gradually stretching their fingers, and the arm is gradually extending, and the muscles are learning gradually, and they're building on top of their success, right? And then we go down to the 1st fret, right? And they'll do that for however long. And then, boom, one day they forget to put their capo on, and then they find that they're doing everything in the open position. So to get from the 7th fret for real beginner children, I'm thinking 5 to 8-year-olds, 5 to 9-year-olds, can take a while to get down there. Okay, but that's okay, because when they get there, they're not trying to, you know, they're not like you experienced when you held your arm out there. They're not going through all of that. They've built everything up over 7 kind of levels to get down there. And when they get there, they're working from a position of confidence and a position of achievement. Very powerful. So this capo here, it's called a Planet Waves capo, and it's the NS Pro model, classical model. And I got mine from the Rock Shop on K Road for 25, I think it was. If you're going to get a capo, get a decent one. Don't mess with those cheap ones. And the one I recommend is this one, because it's very easy for your child to use. It's just slip over and they're just twiddling this knob. No wrestling with things, just a twiddle. The only thing I'd caution you about when you get one of these, this is a really important piece of guitar equipment. I keep replacing mine and I keep losing them because people like them so much. They forget to leave them with me and they wander off. So that's how good they are. There are other reasons for using capos, right? But I just want to explain to you why it's important for a young child to have a capodastro and how it's valuable in allowing a child to play quicker, sooner, better, with much more assurance, with really much more comfort, and within their physical capabilities, their natural physical capabilities. I hope this video has been useful for you and for you to understand how important the capo is. And if you forget how important the capo is, then remember, hold your arm out there for as long as you can, and that'll remind you. So this has been Taylor from guitarteacher.net.nz. Thanks for watching and good luck with your child's guitar, and talk again soon.